In the community of Ezra, there was a warning every child grew up hearing: never accept gifts from the river, because the river never gave anything for free. One man ignored that warning. His name was Hart, and before the next full moon, he would fall in love with a mermaid, receive three powerful gifts, and lose the only thing he truly wanted to keep. The strange part, even after everything that happened, people still say he would do it all again. In the community of Ezra, people feared the river more than death itself. Not because the river was wild, not because people drowned in it, but because the river listened. The elders used to say that the water gave blessings to the pure and madness to the greedy. And whenever the moon became full and silver light touched the surface of the water, every door in Ezra was locked before nightfall. No one wanted to hear the singing because those who followed the voice into the darkness never returned the same. Some came back rich, some came back cursed, and some never came back at all. Hart never believed the stories. He was too busy surviving. At 24, Hart lived in a small clay house at the edge of Ezra with his mother. Since his father's death, he had carried the burden of providing for both of them alone. Every morning before sunrise, he hunted in the forest or fished near the shallow parts of the river while the village slowly woke behind him. Unlike the other young men in Ezra, Hart rarely laughed loudly or joined village competitions. He preferred peace, silence, simplicity. But peace had become difficult in Ezra. The river was changing, fish had become scarce, crops dried too quickly, hunger slowly entered homes like smoke under a door. People began blaming one another. Some blamed the elders, others blamed the gods, and eventually they blamed the river. One evening, Hart returned home carrying only two tiny fish wrapped in leaves. His mother stared at them quietly. "That is all?" Hart nodded tiredly. "The river gave almost nothing today." His mother sighed. "Ezra has offended something." Hart sat down slowly. "Or maybe the river is simply empty." His mother looked at him sharply. "Do not speak carelessly. There are things inside that water older than this village." Hart said nothing. But later that night, unable to sleep because of hunger and frustration, he left his house and wandered toward the forbidden side of the river. The moon sat high above the sky. The water moved slowly like black silk. Then he heard it, singing. Soft, beautiful, not human. Hart stopped walking. The voice floated across the water like a whisper inside his chest. Every instinct warned him to leave, yet his legs carried him forward. The closer he moved toward the riverbank, the colder the air became. Then suddenly, the water began to glow. Hart froze. Something moved beneath the surface. Slowly, a woman rose from the river. Drops of water slid down her skin like silver rain. Long dark hair rested over her shoulders, decorated with tiny sea beads that shimmered beneath the moonlight. Her eyes were unlike anything Hart had ever seen. They were beautiful, but painfully sad. Neither of them spoke at first. Hart could hear his own heartbeat. The woman tilted her head slightly. "You are not afraid," she said softly. Hart swallowed hard. "Perhaps I should be." A faint smile touched her lips. "But you are still here." Hart stared at her carefully. "Who are you?" "My name is Cyril." "The river spirit?" Her expression darkened slightly. "No." There was silence again before she continued. "I am the punishment tied to this river." Hart did not understand what she meant, but strangely, he did not want to leave. Something about her pulled at him, not with fear, with curiosity. That night they spoke until dawn, and the next night, Hart returned again. Then again. Soon the river became a secret he carried inside himself. Every night after Ezra slept, Hart met Cyril beneath the moonlight. She spoke about places beyond the river, about loneliness, about watching generations of humans grow old while she remained trapped between worlds. And slowly, without realizing it, Hart began falling in love with her. One night, Cyril looked at him differently. "You are kind," she said quietly. Hart laughed softly. "The people of Ezra would disagree." "No," she replied. "You carry pain without turning cruel. That is rare." She stepped closer to him. "The river has allowed me to give you 3 gifts." Hart frowned. "Why me?" "Because gifts reveal who people truly are." From beneath the water, Cyril lifted a small white shell, glowing faintly beneath the moonlight. "The first gift is the ear of truth." Hart collected it carefully. "What does it do?" "It allows you to hear truth hidden behind lies." Hart's eyes widened slightly. "But every gift carries a task," Cyril continued. "What task?" "Tomorrow someone important in Ezra will lie before the people. When you hear the truth, you must speak it aloud." Hart's face tightened immediately. "That could cause problems." "Truth always causes problems," Cyril said calmly. "Will you still accept the gift?" After a long silence, Hart nodded. The next morning, the entire village gathered beneath the sacred tree in the center of Ezra. The elders announced that the gods demanded larger sacrifices because the people had become sinful. As the chief elder spoke, the shell in Hart's pocket suddenly became warm. Then whispers filled his ears. "They lie. The river is poison. They know." Hart's breathing changed. He looked at the elders in disbelief. The whispers continued. "They dump waste upstream. They blame spirits to protect themselves." Anger rose inside him instantly. Before fear could stop him, Hart stepped forward. "You are lying." The entire gathering became silent. The elder narrowed his eyes. "What did you say?" Hart's voice became louder. "You blame the gods while poisoning the river yourselves." Gasps spread across the crowd. The elders shouted in outrage, but people began murmuring among themselves. Some villagers demanded answers immediately. Others defended the elders. Within moments, the gathering exploded into chaos. That evening, Hart returned angrily to the river. "Your gift almost destroyed me," he snapped. Cyril remained calm. "No," she replied softly. "The lies were already destroying Ezra. You only uncovered them." Hart said nothing. Deep inside himself, he knew she was right. The following night, Cyril brought him the second gift. This time it was a golden bracelet made from strange river stones. "The second gift is abundance," she said. "What does that mean?" "Anything touched by this bracelet with pure intention will grow." Hart stared at it carefully. "You could feed Ezra with this?" Hope filled his chest immediately, but Cyril's expression remained serious. "The task is harder than the first." Hart looked at her. "When the blessing comes, you must give the first reward away completely." Hart frowned. "Completely?" "Yes." "That makes no sense." Cyril stepped closer. "Generosity is easy when you have excess. True generosity is sacrifice." Hart hesitated for a long time before finally taking the bracelet. The next morning, Hart walked toward the dry farms outside Ezra. Villagers watched him curiously as he knelt and touched the cracked soil. Nothing happened. People laughed. Then suddenly, the earth trembled softly. Green shoots burst from the ground. Crops rose rapidly beneath the sunlight. The dry farmland became alive again before everyone's eyes. Screams filled the air. Women cried. Men fell to their knees. Even the elders stared in shock. By sunset, food overflowed across the village. For the first time in months, Ezra celebrated. But Hart remembered the tears. As music and laughter filled the night, he noticed a widow sitting alone beside her children. They stared hungrily at the celebration from a distance because they owned nothing. Hart slowly carried his entire harvest to them. The widow stared at him in disbelief. "All this?" Hart nodded quietly. His stomach remained empty that night. Yet strangely, he felt fuller than ever before. Days passed. Ezra began healing. The river slowly recovered. People respected Hart now, but respect brought attention, and attention brought greed. Soon, wealthy men approached him, asking for blessings. Others demanded power. Even the elders suddenly treated him kindly. Hart began noticing something ugly inside people. The more they received, the more they wanted. One night, Hart met Cyril again beneath the moonlight. troubled. The final gift is ready, she said quietly. Heart smiled weakly. You sound afraid of it. I am. From the river, Cyril lifted a dark stone glowing faintly blue from within. The third gift is protection. Heart stared carefully at the stone. With this, you can protect whatever you love most from suffering. Heart immediately thought about his mother, about Ezra, about Cyril, but her eyes carried sadness again. What is the task? He asked slowly. Cyril looked away. You must sacrifice the thing your heart refuses to lose. Heart's smile disappeared. What does that mean? Her voice almost broke when she answered. It means me. Silence covered the riverbank. Heart stared at her in confusion. The river binds my existence to this world, Cyril whispered. If the stone is returned to the deepest part of the river before sunrise, the curse holding me here will end. Heart shook his head immediately. No. Heart, no. You do not understand? I understand enough. Cyril stepped closer, tears forming in her eyes. If you refuse, the river will eventually die again. Ezra will suffer worse than before. There must be another way. There is not. Hart's chest tightened painfully. For the first time since meeting her, he hated the river. He hated the gifts. He hated destiny. You knew this from the beginning, he asked quietly. Cyril lowered her eyes. Yes. Hart turned away from her completely. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Then softly, Cyril said, Some gifts are meant to save people. Her voice trembled. And some gifts are meant to teach people how to let go. Before sunrise, Hart stood alone in the middle of the river. The dark stone rested heavily inside his hand. Cyril stood before him silently, moonlight reflecting in her tearful eyes. Hart looked at her desperately, as though memorizing every part of her face. I do not want a world without you in it, he whispered. Cyril smiled sadly. And yet, you will give the world one anyway. Hart closed his eyes tightly. Then finally, he threw the stone into the deepest part of the river. The water exploded with blue light. The wind roared violently across Ezra. The river glowed brighter and brighter until Hart could no longer see. And then, silence. The light vanished. The river became calm once more. Cyril was gone. Hart remained standing there alone as dawn slowly rose across the sky. Years later, Ezra became the most prosperous community near the great waters. The river remained full. Hunger disappeared. Children grew strong. But the people of Ezra never forgot the story of Hart, the man who received 3 gifts from the river. The gift of truth, the gift of abundance, and the gift of sacrifice. And even now, during quiet nights when the moon hangs low above the water, some villagers claim they still hear singing beneath the river. Soft, beautiful, lonely, as if somewhere deep below the water, Cyril is still waiting for Hart to return.